1, 2, 3, 4.
Some theater and some experiences are about emptying the bag so that you can be present. It's like meditation, right? Zen meditation, where you try and sort of empty the bag. It's just breath in and out so that you can reach some place of peace or truth. And I like to think that Theater Dybbuk's work is like filling the bag. It's saying, we are going to give you more than you can handle, so the bag is bursting, so that your mind and heart have to find a way to get to truth through that. On stage, what may be happening simultaneously is you'll have music going, usually original composed music, with choreographed movement, often quite precise choreographed movement, with extremely dense dialogue or monologue work. And they're all happening at once. And the idea here is to say, work. I want you to work as an audience member. Theater can ask people to give something of themselves in a certain way, can say to them, you are here, there is no going back, there is only going forward. And so we're going to ask you to lean in and work really hard and stay with us. We are still having script development meetings online over Zoom. Script development meetings are relatively friendly to Zoom because they really are reading script and discussion. While it's much nicer to be in person and focus is different in person, it's not an impossibility to do it online. We also have these 2 to 3 times a month physical development workshops. That's obviously a different thing. So we're experimenting right now. It's actually been sort of exciting. Like 2 weeks ago, we did a session with the choreographer in our current show, Andrew Pearson, where he led us through a movement meditation online and then taught the actors in the show some moves that he thinks might show up in the show that they could practice on their own. And we recorded it and even sent them a little private YouTube link so they could use it as a tutorial. Last week, the composer, Fahed Siadat, on our next show, led a whole talk with the ensemble on his theories connected to music and on some vocal warm-ups. People have said, it was approachable. I was able to use it. It was a good balance of being in community, but also respecting I'm kind of on my own and what can I do in my own space. So I think everyone misses the ability for us to be in a room together, moving together and figuring out how we interact. At the same time, I think people, they've appreciated the mixture of just general learning and practicality, which I think sometimes when we're in space together, I can be really focused on what are we doing for the show? How is this developing? And at this moment, it's more like, how are we staying connected? How are we still keeping our chops up? How are we learning new things? There's almost a beauty in the fact that I have to let go of it being so outcome related. We don't know how long it's going to be before we can gather in rooms close to in close proximity to one another. So what does that mean for how we share space? If theater is a communal activity that is largely reliant on us being in space together and breathing the same air and laughing at the same moments and crying at the same moments, what does it mean if for the next 2 years we need to be 6 feet apart when in a space together? What does that do to the air in the room? What does that do to how we receive what's happening with the performers? I don't know, but I think it's a worthwhile question. And do we run from it or do we embrace it? Does that change how we present work if people have to be 6 feet apart? Do we embrace this immersive idea of, there are audiences of 10 and they're having really interesting, intimate experiences? I'm also curious to see if we return to theater as ritual. And what I mean by that is like, the original function of theater as a ritual experience that is meant to transcend self within community. And while we all know that, and we can make an argument that every act of doing theater is an act of performance ritual, I wonder if we'll get even deeper in touch with it as our needs for certain kinds of connection grow. I don't know what that looks like or what that means. It's just what's occurring to me.